Let's get right into it. Number 7. The phone is a predator panic. Ever dropped your phone and, in that split second before it hits the ground, your whole body flinches as if a spider just dropped on your head? That's not you being clumsy. That's your ancient brain thinking a tiny, fragile rectangle is a real-life predator. Your brain has a thing for predictive coding, which is basically its way of guessing what's going to happen next based on past experiences. Most of the time, this is super helpful, like when you catch a falling glass before it shatters. But when it comes to your phone, your brain's prediction algorithm freaks out. It sees an object suddenly move out of your hand and subconsciously categorizes it as a threat, something fast and falling. So your body reacts with a classic survival flinch, a sudden jerk of muscles to dodge or prepare for impact. It's a primal reflex that's totally over the top for a piece of glass and aluminum, but it's the same instinct that helped your ancestors dodge falling rocks or pouncing saber-toothed cats. Your brain can't tell the difference between a charging tiger and your new iPhone 15 hitting the concrete. It's all a threat. The irony: we're the only species that panics this much over a device we paid $1,000 for. Number 6. I'll just take the shortcut trap. You're walking in a new neighborhood trying to find a coffee shop. You pull out your phone, but the GPS is a little wonky. You see a small alley and think, perfect, this must be a shortcut. You confidently stride down it, only to find yourself at a dead end. You turn around, embarrassed, and have to retrace your steps. This isn't just a simple mistake, it's a cognitive bias at work called the primacy effect. Essentially, when we're faced with new information like an unknown path, our brains tend to put more weight on the first few details they receive. That initial, confident thought, this is a shortcut, sticks in your mind and makes you ignore all the little clues that follow, like the lack of footprints or the sketchy lighting. Your brain is a bit like an old-school GPS that locks onto the first possible route it finds and refuses to recalculate, even when you're clearly driving into a lake. This mental shortcut can be great when you're on a familiar path, but it's a disaster when you're lost. It's the reason why some lost hikers will follow a false trail for miles, completely ignoring the perfectly good main path they started on. It's not that we're dumb, it's that our brains love a good first impression, even if it's totally wrong. Number 5. The which way did I come from? Mystery. Ever walk into a giant, confusing store like IKEA and then suddenly realize you have no idea which way you came from? You wander aimlessly, surrounded by Swedish-named furniture, and a cold dread starts to creep in. Your brain, usually so good at navigating, has just experienced a major cognitive hiccup. This is due to something called path integration, a fancy term for how our brains keep track of our position and orientation as we move. Our brains use a network of grid cells and head direction cells to create a mental map of our environment. But these cells can get messed up by things like repeating patterns, lack of clear landmarks, and the sheer mental overload of trying to remember where we parked the car and which way to the hot dogs. Your brain is essentially a bad internal GPS that gets its signal jammed in a big, noisy environment. It's like trying to navigate a city with a broken compass. You know you're moving, but you have no idea where you are in relation to where you started. And this isn't just an IKEA problem. It's the same reason lost hikers will often find themselves walking in a huge circle. Without clear landmarks, their internal compass gets thrown off, and they'll unknowingly keep correcting in the wrong direction, all while being completely convinced they're walking in a straight line. The moral of the story: don't trust your brain around cheap furniture and Swedish meatballs. Number 4. The tunnel vision of panic. Imagine you're trying to find your keys. You've looked everywhere. On the counter, in your bag, on the key hook. But they're nowhere to be found. The longer you look, the more your vision seems to narrow, focusing only on the places you've already checked. The fear of being late for work makes your brain slam on the emergency brakes. This is the amygdala hijack, and it's a primal survival mechanism that takes over when we're stressed or scared. When panic hits, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, shouts so loudly that it basically turns down the volume on the rest of your brain. Your frontal lobe, the part responsible for logical thinking and problem solving, gets pushed to the side. You stop seeing the bigger picture and develop attentional narrowing, a fancy term for tunnel vision. It's why, when we're lost in the woods, we might obsessively scan the ground for a trail we think we should be on, completely missing the giant, obvious landmark just to our left. Our brain's singular focus is on the perceived threat being lost, and it ignores everything else. The irony is that the very thing designed to help us survive panic is what makes us miss the obvious solutions. Number 3. The left-handed circle of confusion. Have you ever tried walking in a perfectly straight line with your eyes closed? Try it, it's surprisingly difficult. Most people will end up veering to one side. The same thing happens when we're lost and can't see the sun or other major landmarks. This isn't a matter of poor coordination. It's a subtle physical asymmetry. While this is an area of ongoing research, some scientists suggest that most people's dominant leg is slightly stronger and takes slightly longer strides. Over time, this small difference in stride length, imperceptible with each step, adds up. The result, you start to naturally curve in a big, wide circle. This is often called the left-footed bias because a slight majority of people tend to have a stronger right leg, which pushes them off kilter and causes them to veer left. When you're in the woods with no visual cues, your internal compass has nothing to guide it, and your body's natural asymmetry takes over. It's like your own body is a broken compass, slowly but surely pulling you in a circle. The result is that lost hikers can spend hours or even days walking in a massive circle, only to end up right back where they started. Talk about adding insult to injury. Number 2, the just one more hill delusion. You've been hiking for what feels like an eternity. You're tired, hungry, and starting to worry. You see a hill in the distance and think, if I can just get to the top of that hill, I'll be able to see where I am. You climb the hill, exhausted, only to see another hill in the distance and another one after that. This is the sunk cost fallacy at its most frustrating. This cognitive bias tricks us into continuing a course of action because of the time, effort, and resources we've already invested in it. When we're lost, every step we take, every hill we climb, feels like an investment. We think, I've gone this far. I can't turn back now, so we keep pushing forward, even when it's not the best decision. Our brains tell us that the next hill is the one that will solve all our problems and show us the way home. It's like a gambler who keeps putting money on the table because they've already lost so much. This mental trap is especially dangerous in a survival situation because it can lead us to make increasingly risky decisions, pushing us farther and farther from safety. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is admit you're lost and stop moving. Number 1, the I know best ego trap. You're with a group of friends, all lost on a hiking trail. One of them pulls out a compass and says, we need to go south to get back to the car, but another friend, who's been hiking for years, scoffs and says, no, I know this area, the car is this way. The group follows the experienced hiker, only to get more lost. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect, a psychological bias where people with low ability at a task tend to overestimate their own ability. In a survival situation, this can be deadly. That experienced hiker who's only done a few easy trails might have a misplaced confidence that overrides the logical advice of a friend with a compass. Their ego tells them they're a natural-born navigator, even when all the evidence says otherwise. This isn't about being a bad person, it's about a cognitive blind spot that affects all of us. When we're under stress, our brains tend to rely on what they think they know rather than processing new information. This is especially true for people who have a little bit of knowledge but not enough to be truly competent. The twist: often, the most dangerous person to be with when you're lost isn't the most scared person, but the most confident one. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.